Admin, please open the. Welcome to Scott, or welcome back. If you have been with us in other webinars, you probably know the moderator that is going to lead the webinar today, Dr. Ayla. She and her wonderful team are here to explore and discuss a very important topic, the role of women and socio-cultural, psychological, economical impacts of being involved and uh, um, important part of society. Women are playing a key role, and we are going to see how the involvement of women in society, not only tourism, is benefiting not only women and men. Today's speaker and moderator are examples of successful women who contribute to the society, and they are going to share their experiences with us to believe and to practice this gender equity. Without any ado, I'm going to ask Dr. Ayla, the moderator of today's webinar, to start the presentation and open the floor. Dr. Ayla, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Professor Kazem. So good afternoon, konnichiwa, mabuhay to everyone. So before anything else, before I start chatting about this passion project that I'm currently doing, I would first like to thank the community and the people who actually made this webinar possible. First of all, to my supervisor, Professor Kazem, and Professor Jafar, who was not able to join us today because he's currently on duty as a tourism god, as I would call it. And Hira and the rest of the Scott team. And of course, I'd also like to thank our esteemed and empowered panelists or speakers who are joining us today, who actually said yes, despite their busy schedules and the time differences. And of course, to everyone who are here joining this webinar, who are currently still in the waiting room and being admitted to this Zoom meeting. And of course, those who are joining us also live via YouTube. I have friends who are messaging me who find it easier to actually join in YouTube than in Zoom. So thank you very much for joining us today. Again, I am Ayla Gutierrez, the Associate Director of the AIM Dr. Andrew L. Tan Center for Tourism, and I am live all the way from the Philippines. So again, I'm welcoming everyone to this collaborative webinar titled Tourism as a Pathway to Empowerment, Women's Rights, Equality, and Leadership. So as I begin, first, I'd like to do some level of vibe check or energy check with everyone who are joining us here, just so I know that everyone is happy and excited. Can I just get some hearts or hellos from everyone in the chat box, or just, just a simple hi or a heart, just to make sure everyone's in the right space and right energy, so I could see that numbers going up. So thank you very much for being active and for joining us this Saturday afternoon or morning or night, wherever you guys are. So maybe later on, you could also share with us where you're coming from, which part of the world you're joining us. That would be great as well. So I guess the setup for this webinar is very much a conversational type. Let's keep it more relaxed, but especially an open-minded kind of conversation. So I'm very much happy to welcome everyone's thoughts and ideas later on. So just a brief background. So maybe we could move to the next slide. So this webinar was especially curated in commemoration of the International Women's Month. So the topic for today is especially aligned to the UN's theme, which is, next slide, please. The theme is for all women and girls, rights, equality, and empowerment. So the theme, as simple as it is, just a one sentence, one liner thing, it's actually a call for action that hopes to unlock equal rights, power, and opportunities for all, and a feminist future where no one is left behind. So central to the theme, I believe, is the idea of empowering. Empowering who? The next generation, the youth, particularly young women and men who can become catalysts for what we call lasting change. So more specifically, this webinar will focus on the aspect of empowerment, which is why it's underlined in this slide. So to do that, this webinar will be focused on the following. Next slide, please. So we will focus on a two-pronged question. First, asking the question, what is the role of women in tourism? And also asking an even more important question of how can tourism be used as a tool to drive gender equality? So to do that, the discussions for today will be focused on addressing several topics or several touch points. First is the current state of women's empowerment in the industry. And then we'll look at some of the successful case studies wherein women are actually involved in several tourism initiatives. And finally, because I want to position this webinar as an action-oriented space and discussion, we will also be identifying some actionable strategies that can be made to create a more inclusive and gender equal tourism industry for everyone. And today, we will be answering these questions by looking at them in three lenses, which is at the industry level, at the academic level, and community level. So helping me make this happen, next slide, please, are three esteemed and empowered women who I look up to. So you might not see it right now. I might look and appear chill, but I'm actually a kid, a girl right now who is giggling, knowing I have these three women that I look up to sharing this virtual stage with me today. So it is my honor to introduce each of them. So without further ado, our first panelist is from the World Travel and Tourism Council, joining us all the way from Singapore, Ms. Liz Ortiguera. So Liz is a global leader with over 25 years of experience in the tourism and hospitality industry. She spent 18 years at American Express, where she led the travel partner network across 28 Asia-Pacific countries. So here comes the gist. Liz made history as the first female and second Asian CEO of the Pacific Asia Travel Association, or PATA. I'm sure our friends from the audience would know that and would recognize that. And later, she became the first managing director of Asia Pacific and senior advisor to the CEO of the World Travel and Tourism Council. Her expertise spans business strategy, innovation, sustainability, and social impact. As a thought leader and mentor, Liz is passionate about driving business growth through ethical and sustainable practices. She is an alumna of Stanford, Columbia, New York University, and the Cooper Union with numerous accolades, including leadership awards and humanitarian honors. Liz has also been involved in charity initiatives in Asia, including fundraising for educational and development projects in Cambodia and the Philippines. So just quickly, Liz, could you just say hi to everyone? Oh, you're on mute, Liz.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that kind introduction, Isla.
Okay, so before I transfer the floor to you, allow me to just introduce our two other speakers. So our second speaker is a women's empowerment and gender equality advocate and academic, Dr. Nelly Swart of the University of South Africa. So she is obviously joining us all the way from, yes, you heard it right, from South Africa. And I'm very much honored to have her here today. So Dr. Nelly is an associate professor of tourism at the University of South Africa. And as an author and conference organizer and industry speakers, she chairs Tourism Educators South Africa, or TESA, and leads the executive development program for women in tourism at the said university. So in 2022, she was recognized as one of the 100 most powerful people in African hospitality by the International Hospitality Institute and served as the G100 City Chair for Johannesburg. In 2023, she was honored as one of the top 5 women in leadership in Africa. So Dr. Nelly, apart from all of those accolades, has co-edited 3 books, including the first ever Routledge Handbook on Gender and Tourism, along with more than 70 peer-reviewed publications. So a quick hi to everyone, Dr. Nelly.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for the honor to join you this afternoon. I feel really humble to be part of your presentation today. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nelly. And finally, one of the women leaders behind the multi-awarded and internationally recognized community-based tourism organization, Ms. Jomelyn De Los Reyes of Boho Aluginsan Ecotourism Association, joining us from Cebu, Philippines. So Ms. Jomelyn is a dedicated educator and community leader who served as the first president of the Boho Aluginsan Ecotourism Association, or BAETAS. You can start Googling that now. So from 2009 to 2012 and 2020 to 2023. And later as vice president from 2012 to 2029. So if we could observe just by the fact of the years of her leadership, we know that she's called for as a woman to lead BAETAS during the pandemic. So I'm not even surprised, but I'm just happy to say that. So during her leadership, Ms. Jomelyn played a pivotal role in developing and managing the award-winning Boho River Cruise. So you could, again, start Googling that. Maybe I could type that later. So this Boho River Cruise was named one of UN Tourism's best tourism villages in 2021. So under her guidance, Boho River Cruise garnered the Philippine Tourism Excellence Award, the National Award for Ecotourism, and the ASEAN Community-Based Ecotourism Award for its sustainable and community-led tourism initiatives. Ms. Jomelyn holds a Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education and a Master of Arts in Education. Currently, she teaches at the local elementary school in Boho Aluginsan, Cebu, while continuing to support BAETAS in its mission to promote sustainable tourism and environmental conservation. Ms. Jomelyn, are you here joining us today? Can we just have a quick hi from you?
Yes. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi.
Hi, Ms. Jomelyn. Do you mind if you turned on your camera just so everyone sees you briefly before your presentation?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Jomelyn, for making time for us. So again, thank you once again for all our 3 empowered women who said yes to this webinar. I cannot express how grateful I am to actually have them in this stage. So for this panel discussion, each of our panelists or speakers will be given 7 to 10 minutes to have their respective presentations. And for our dear audience, I know you have some burning questions, but please save them during the Q&A session. So that will happen after what we call a cultural break, right? So without further ado, to discuss the first topic, the current trends and strategies for women in tourism in Asia, may I ask Ms. Liz to take on the floor?
Thank you so much, Ayla. First of all, during my talk today it'll touch on some challenges, but it'll be more about opportunity. We are so lucky in travel and tourism to be here in Asia Pacific, which will be, over the next 10, 20 years, the growth engine for travel. And this is very exciting because it creates great opportunity. And I think, for me, travel can be a force for good if you do it right. And we know that we want our industry to create healthy communities, create great jobs, and create great opportunities. Next page, please. So one of the exciting things about travel and tourism is that over the next 10 years, our industry is it's a mega sector, actually. So I should correct that. It's actually a mega sector that's going to create 100 million new jobs. Just imagine how big we are. Aviation, tour, hospitality, each one of those is an immense industry. Click, next. And the exciting thing is 64% of them will be right here in the region. So that's 64 million new jobs. And actually, in a lot of places right now, we're challenged for finding talent and finding enough staffing. And that's a problem that should readily be solved. Next page. Now, these statistics are a bit shocking. So women in travel and tourism, the percentage of women in formal jobs is only 39%. Here in Asia Pacific, it's even lower, 37.7%. Now, you might see some surveys out there, I've seen 54% regularly. But actually, because these are the formal jobs, the salaried jobs, that's why the proportion is lower. Now, Now, the numbers in different countries varies really across the region. Thailand, we've got a higher situation there, but you can see there's opportunity in many countries. And I would say this, that I was talking earlier with Professor and Dr. Ayla, and I have not seen a survey yet that shows the percentage of women as you move up the ranks. From manager to director to vice president to general manager. And I can tell you, based on my observation, the ranks are very thin. And so there is a great opportunity here. We shouldn't be suffering from lack of talent. I know there's talent out there at every level, and there's amazing opportunity. Next page. So I'm going to share with you 4 calls to action, or 4 strategies that we can take to address this. Next, click. First, educate women on the world of careers available within travel at every level up the ladder. And I think this holds true for both men and women. Travel hasn't done a great job of explaining the incredible opportunities. Young people and their parents, when they think of travel careers, they often think of the part-time, the frontline jobs, but they don't realize the huge ecosystem that it takes, and that there are many, many ladders up the professional career ladder throughout the ecosystem. And so it is about, educating everyone. Travel itself needs a PR program, and at WTTC, we're embarking on doing that. Next. So there are 3 things that we need to do within this educating women or educating society. First, we need to leverage media and storytelling. Travel is about experiencing the world, and young people want experiential, lives and careers. And so we're the perfect place for that. Second is engage and mentor young women. This is so important because, they shouldn't feel, I do think that while women do tend to socialize perhaps more readily, they don't always reach out for career support. And I know, I take it, when I was young, women leaders were tougher on young women for some reason. They felt like, it showed weakness or something to support them. But, I'm a big believer that the women of my generation, we need to reach out and support the young women. And then the third is, I tell my colleagues, Asian female leaders, they need to do things like this webinar, like getting on stage, take the stage and have a voice. I have many Asian female colleagues that are, I don't know if they're shy or what, but they will decline. They think, and I tell them, it's not for you, it's for the people in the audience. It's for the younger women to see, that there's a career path. They need to see you. So don't feel like, take the time, invest the time to do that. Next. Second call to action, next, is to reinvent the workplace culture. We as an industry, for everyone, we need to ensure that there are better working conditions and respect. How much are you going to pay someone to be harassed every day? And who wants that job? Nobody wants that job. Next. So there are 3 things that we need to do in there. First, we need to, and this, it's different in each industry, it's different in each job, but we need to be creative about how do we improve the work-life balance and benefits. Second, we need 0 tolerance for harassment and disrespect, especially for vulnerable young women in our industry. Someone said to me, a friend said to me, Asia hasn't had its Me Too moment, and particularly in this. In our industry and travel, there are risks that we need to design safety measures around, and we need to protect our staff. male and female, fair pay and benefits, of course. Next call to action, third, would be provide equal opportunity in education and in jobs. Before I was CEO of Pata, I was actually working in a mobile-first edtech company. And I loved what it was about because, education through the mobile phone really democratizes it. So we need to be able to find ways, travel is amazing as a career because it is, first of all, it can be the fastest solution to poverty alleviation. Second of all, I know executives that have started off their careers cleaning hotel rooms, and then they became the GM or the CEO. It creates that opportunity. So it's very democratizing. Next. So first, we need to recognize unconscious bias and embrace diversity. This image that, the GM has to be tall, white, and male, isn't a fair one. I mean, it's not about size. It's about skills. It's not, especially here in Asia, it's about understanding Asian hospitality and being able to lead the team. And so there needs to be more diversity. Appreciate the strengths of Asian leaders, not just Asian operational staff. I've been in so many countries around the world where the travel leaders say to me, I wish I had more Filipino staff. We really want more Filipino staff, which is wonderful. There's a Filipino brand of hospitality that is world-class and people want it. But you should also see the potential for their leadership as well. Next, number 4 is celebrate success and set examples. I'm going to share with you a personal photo in a moment, but on the next page, I'm going to summarize, celebrate success means you personally as to all the women in travel out there or who are considering travel, you need to women do this thing to themselves where we're not enough. We don't tick all the boxes. You need to celebrate your personal successes, celebrate your colleagues, and support them. And, and mentor, you can mentor at every age level, support your colleagues. They're not, my favorite workplaces have been the ones where coworkers are really teammates. They're not competition. You need to support each other. So last page, I summarized these 4 different strategies. Educate, improve working conditions, provide equal opportunity, and celebrate success. And I'm going to end with a personal photo on the next page. And just as an example, this is how I spent my International Women's Day last week, having dinner with 2 of my favorite Filipina colleagues. The one in the middle is Chef Joanne, and she was rated top Asian female chef of the year a couple of years ago. Never mind the qualifier. She's one of the top chefs in Singapore, if not the region. And she's fantastic. And then on the right is Ruby, who is the first female GM of Como, in Como Hotels. And they have been winning awards. So I'm so proud of her. She said when she first got her role here in Singapore, with Como, that she said she was the first female, she was the only female GM on all of Orchard Road. And I'm so proud of her for winning awards. And so I celebrate my colleagues, and just know, there are amazing opportunities out there for you, and we're here to support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Liz. I mean, on behalf of the audience and everyone listening, I would say it's a very inspiring and a very powerful presentation that you shared with us. I mean, I've been working in the field of women in tourism for 3 or 5 years now, but hearing these firsthand, stories, and even the last photo that you shared, it's just very powerful, very impactful. And I hope that everyone is just as inspired as I am. So again, for those who have questions, please save them for later. So again, thank you very much, Liz, and we're excited to have you later during the Q&A session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now moving on to our next discussion point. I hope that everyone's ready. I know we still can't move on with what Liz just shared with us, but I'm just excited to build on the energy this time. So moving on to our second discussion, which is on gender and tourism, a new era of research and empowerment. I welcome Dr. Nelly Swart. Dr. Nelly.
Thank you so much, Ayla. I just want to check if you can project my presentation from your side.
Yes.
Thank you
I
so
can-
much.
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Maybe next slide. Right, so good afternoon again, and thank you so much for the honor to be part of this very impactful webinar. I must say I always learn a lot, and I must just accolade what Ms. Liz has just shared with all of you. I think here in Africa, we share the sentiment, we share the challenges, and we also share the opportunities. Next slide, please. Right. So before we can actually look at gender in tourism, I think it's very important that we maybe just look at some of the definitions that are out there. And recently, I have authored an editorial that is due for publication a little bit later on this year on a gender inclusive tourism. And I think it's very important that we also look at the evolving landscape. And towards the end, I will provide a little bit more information on that. But first of all, if we look at gender equality in tourism, it refers to the full and the equal participation of women as agents and decision makers that will ensure their rights and the opportunities as recognized and addressed, whereby we contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And if we move on to the next slide, you will actually see that in gender equality, we focus specifically on the gender on the Sustainable Development Goal number 5. And more specifically, which I think is most relevant for all of us, is to focus on Goal 5A, B, and C. Now, the A part focus on the economic resources that needs to be available for women. The B part focus on the use of an enabling technology. And lastly, we need to have the relevant policies and we need to enforce legislation in order to empower women. And now on the left-hand side of the slide, I have also shared some of the statistics from the Sustainable Development Goals. And those of you that have time, please go and visit this. And you will also see that there's already challenges in terms of the reaching of these specific goals that was set out by the United Nations. Next slide, please. Right, so if we look specifically at research that's been conducted, I want to share with you two powerful quotes. The one is from our spokesperson, Ms. Nazreen Karim, at the National Department of Tourism here in South Africa. And she indicated that research has demonstrated that when women are educated and employed, the whole community benefits. And we also see that in tourism is not different to this specific phenomenon. Further on, I want to share with you a quote from the UN Tourism that state that for the tourism sector, the impact of greater gender equality and women empowerment will be highly beneficial because diverse and gender equitable organizations perform better. And I think this drives many of the narratives that we also try to strive towards when we are conducting research in this specific space. Next slide, please. Right, so what kind of groundbreaking research have been done? And I think it's very important that we focus on two of these areas where the research have been conducted. First of all, we have our specialized agencies, and that's why I think you're very honored today to have Ms. Liz from the WTTC in the audience. And there's been some specific research that came from the WTTC, focusing on the driving of women's success. But we also know that there are other organizations like the World Economic Forum that focus on the global gender gap research. We've also seen from the UN Tourism, the Global Report on Women in Tourism, and then of course, much of this research is also driven by the United Nations through the Sustainable Development Goals. But I think it's also important that we take a little bit of stock of what's been happening in terms of academic research. And I know that my slides are very small here, but I will elaborate a little bit more on that in my last slide. But if we look just at the graph that I'm sharing with you, you can see towards the end of the graph there's a spike. So I have done a search in Scopus focusing on gender in tourism and hospitality. And just last year alone, there were 72 publications in this field specifically. So in total, we have about 240 publications. And then I've also did a bibliographic analysis on that. And those results I will also share with you in the last slide. But you can look at the different color codings, and we've noticed that there are 3 dominant themes that also emanate from the existing research at the moment. What is interesting is that the majority of the research conducted on gender in tourism and women in tourism are done by men. And we look at Professor Costa, who's based in Portugal, one of my dear friends, and I will also celebrate him a little bit later on, is Professor Albert Kimbo. So we see that we also have men that advocate for women empowerment, equality, diversity, and inclusion, which on the one hand is for me very encouraging, but I would like to hear more female voices to be celebrated. And I will also talk a little bit more about that later on. Next slide, please. So this is for me a very powerful quote that comes from a publication by Bowski and colleagues. And this is a general statement that's been made. It's not only from the lens of a female researcher. And specifically here in the African continent, we are consistently driving the narrative of Africanization and localization. And one of their quotes states that analyzing the content of leading journals, dominant position is occupied by one language, one tradition, one chosen set of research topics, and one group of scholars who serve as the gatekeepers or the power brokers of tourism knowledge. And we find this problem very important, and I believe that this phenomenon will also limit the freedom of research in tourism. And I think that for me is a very powerful quote, because it talks about, and I say this with a lot of respect to my peers, there are some dominant people who are trying to claim the space in tourism research. And through that, we often exclude very powerful contributions in building the knowledge related to travel and tourism, and specifically the empowerment of women. Next slide, please. So what are some of the academic scholarship and frameworks of empowerment of women in tourism that we can try to benchmark against? And if you go to the next slide, please. So that's one of the reasons why we identified the gap to identify research and scholarship through our Routledge Handbook on Gender and Tourism. And I must say, I was absolutely honored to have co-edited this book with 3 other leading tourism scholars in the field of gender and tourism. Dr. Elaine Yang, she is at the Surrey University. Myself, she's at Griffith University, Dr. Elaine. Professor Albert Kimbo is at the Surrey University, and then Professor Wendy Chai is at Greenwich in the UK. And through this, next slide, please. We were very honored to have one specific contribution by your own Dr. Ayla, who has contributed to chapter 7, and she really shared very valuable insights on women participation, empowerment, and community development in the Philippines. And specifically in her study, she has highlighted on how women can act as agents to facilitate community development in tourism through skills development, through leadership in public and private organizations, as well as the empowerment of women across the travel and tourism industry. And I want to encourage all of you, please, to go and read this chapter. 7 minutes is not long enough to celebrate also her contribution. Dr. Ayla, thank you again for your very valuable and insightful contribution. Next slide, please. In the last chapter of this specific book, we have entitled this that what is, when we asked the question, what is next for gender studies and tourism? And we have highlighted and identified 8 research focus areas. I've also shared a little bit more detail related to some of these areas, but we need to look at how can we empower women and our young people in terms of technological change. We have to focus on sustainable practices. And there we advocate for an ecofeminist approach to understand the relationships between gender and the environment. We cannot talk about gender research if we do not address the sensitivity around gender-based violence. We need to look at fair and safe employment environments specifically for women in the workplace. We need to explore new methodologies and theories on how we're going to conduct research in this specific space. And then lastly, which we classified as other, we need to look at non-binary and transgender related research as well. So again, this is outlined in more detail in our chapter 18. So you're more than welcome to have a look at that. Next slide, please. So to further on this specific suggestions, this is an outline of how I project what is the current research landscape. And remember earlier on, I referred to that biometric analysis that I've done with the color coding. And there were 3 topics that are emanating from the existing scholarship. The first one is related to gender-related aspects, where we look at gender relationships, gender disparity, the status of women. Then there's also a huge contribution on sustainability, and I think the COVID-19 pandemic had quite an impact in terms of the research that we do in that specific space. And then, of course, we need to focus on teaching and research. So this is what we've seen what is emanating from existing scholarship. But if we also look at future directions and as a supplement to chapter 18 in the gender book, I just want to focus on maybe 2 aspects that I also see that's very important. We need to look at the psychology in gender equality. And I think that there's a lot of space to conduct some research in the neurosciences. I think that's still a very unexplored and I think maybe a very sensitive space, but I think it will be important to look at those aspects. And we need to look at ethical considerations related to gender equality. So this is also just a summary of how I believe we need to look at these future directions. Next slide, please. So I've included this this slide because I think that as women, we are our own brand. We have the potential to have a voice. We have the opportunity to make change in the society in which we operate. And I want to encourage each and every woman to celebrate who you are and to stand up for what you believe in. And I think together we can make this world a much better place to live in. The one photo there is of the Executive Development Program of Women in Tourism, where we celebrate the advancement of women who has studied towards becoming middle to senior managers, and we had quite a good success rate. And that is an example that if you empower women with the required knowledge and skills, they can really fill those executive positions needed in our society. Next slide, please. And these are just 3 of the books that I've co-edited. There are also 2 forthcoming books where we advocate also for more women involvement in climate change and women in protected areas. So once that is available, I will also share that with you. And then lastly, next slide. I want to say thank you very much. And as we say here in Africa, Inkosi, Asante Sana, Keliboga, and Siyabonga. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nelly. So again, I'm still processing everything that you mentioned. Just like with Liz, you could see my expression. Like I really can't process everything that you just mentioned. But to put it briefly, I am just grateful for women like you who actually take the time to analyze what's happening in the academic community, at least in what publications there are available. Because it's easy to just say, okay, let's publish this. But what's really happening is that I put it in underline and box in my notes here that most of the authors who are working on gender and tourism and on women are actually men who are not from Asia. So this ties with with what Liz was mentioning a while ago. But again, Asian women representation is still missing, not just in the industry, but also in the academic field. So I guess this is the beauty of how this entire thing is structured. Like we see, I didn't know that this would appear here, but you could see the parallelism between what's happening in the industry and the academic. And I can't wait for the next speaker to actually talk about what's actually happening at the community level. So I hope that everyone in the audience is just sharing the same excitement and interest just as me. Again, I am just a girl here, just adoring this space that I am in. So I hope that everyone is sharing that. So again, thank you very much, Dr. Nelly, for sharing those insights that you have. So I guess last but not the least, I am very much happy to introduce and to have on stage Miss Jomelyn. I remember before having the while Justin is prepping her PowerPoint, maybe just a brief introduction. I met Miss Jomelyn when I was doing my dissertation as well. So Dr. Nelly, the paper, the chapter that I actually wrote is mostly inspired actually by the community-based organization that Ms. Jomelyn is handling. So I'm just happy that this is coming in full circle. So without further ado, I think I'll pass on the floor to Ms. Jomelyn. Thank you again, ma'am, for saying yes to this opportunity so that you could talk about your work in Baitas. Go ahead, ma'am. The floor is yours.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I am Jomelyn. So my apologies with my voice. I have a little flow, so I'm sorry. So bear with me with my voice. Okay, so once again, good afternoon. I am Jomelyn. I am one of the women in Bohol Aluginsan Ecotourism Association, or BAITAS. So this afternoon, we're going to share with you how our women work in our association and the story from homemaker to trailblazer, leading the way to ecotourism. Okay, so first, next, please. So first, I will bring you to Aluginsan. So let's visit Aluginsan. Aluginsan is part of Cebu province. So in the Philippines, it is a small province of Cebu. And the municipality of Aluginsan, it is located 73 kilometers from Cebu City. And now from 6th-class municipality, but it is now updated. It is a 3rd-class municipality. And we have the total population of 26,000, and the total land area is 7,421 hectares. So Aluginsan is not much that big. And I will give you a short background of how our association was conducted, or it is developed by the local government unit of Aluginsan. It is initiated 100% by the local government unit of Aluginsan, and it is also funded by the local government of Aluginsan. But it is a community driven by the community. It is run by the community 100%. And it started on June 2009. This project was started in 2009. And why is it that the LGU of Aluginsan initiated this project? So it is to preserve and protect the environment, and as well as to provide an alternative income to the local community, to the whole local community, men and women. And we have 63 members, and we have 26 male and 37 female. So as you can see, the number of women are bigger than the number of males. And then in the officers, because we have a board of members, so male is 3 and also the female are 4. So the number of women also are bigger than male. Okay, so this association was run by mostly women. Okay, then our members are fishermen, farmers, and plain housewives. Okay, and next slide, please. So this is the aerial view of Boat River. It is a 1.4 kilometer going to the Tanyan Strait. So this area was the place whose association was preserved and protected. Next, please. So this is Boat River. So I wish you all you can visit here our place. So this one is part of the area that we are preserving in Boat River. So Ma'am Ella is already visited this place. This is our paradise. Next, please. So before the LGU was conducted workshops and seminars to the women. So as you can see, there's a lot of women than men. So the LGU hired a consultant to do the training, the workshops for all the women in our community. Next, please. So, and then we develop our package tour. So I will give you a background about our package tour. Our package tour, it's include the welcome lei made by our women, the welcome drinks, it is a fresh buko, and then the welcome song, and it is our culture and tradition, the lecture, and next, the river cruise, our local tour guides, men and women are our local tour guides. Women also can do paddling, and I can also do paddling. So if someone you can visit Boat River, I can be your tour guide. Okay, and next, please. And of course, our local food. So it is prepared by our women. So it is local. It is locally made, and it is from local. The fish was caught by our fishermen. The food made by our women. Next, please. And this is the handicraft demo. This is one of our culture, weaving of mats, and also it is part of our package, and that our tourists, our guests can experience how to do it. And then after that, the finished products, then they can bring it as their souvenir items. Next, please. And in what is the role of the women in our association? So the women is first is women's rights in tourism, providing equal job or opportunities. So the main goal of this project is to provide a alternative income. So one of the livelihood that the women we have is being a tour guide. So even if you're a man or a woman, you can be a tour guide. You can paddle the boat down the river. So as you can see, our tour guide here is a woman, and she is a senior citizen. So we did not discriminate the age and the gender. Okay, and then also they can promote our local product. So and then they can sold it. So it is this project is providing us a opportunities to have equal job with their husband, because their husband is a fisherman, construction worker, farmer. So because of this project, they can now have the equal job opportunities like their husband also. Next, please. Number 2 is gender equality in tourism, enable women to access better jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities. Okay, so enable women to access better jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities. One of the role of our women in the association is being an entertainer. So when you go to or you visit Bohol River, our women will welcome you our local songs, and also during your lunch, our women also can entertain you with our local song also. Next, please. And women in leadership. So I am the first president in the association year 2009 when the project was initiated, and one of my members of the board also are women, and this one is the planning session. You can see at the left side one of our member, this is Shamaila, and also part of the board. So she is the one initiating the meeting. It is when the time during the election, some of our candidates and are visited Buho River with our members, and then so one of our women do the planning session. And at the right side, I am that is me, and I am doing the because we have monthly meeting, so I am the one presiding it. So this is women in leadership. Then next, please. And next is the organizational organizational development. So we're able to convince some women to join association. So when we started in 2009, the LG of Aluginsan, they have to spend millions in our trainings and seminars. But when our association was developed, so we are now the one conducting the trainings to our new members. So as you can see, I am there. So I am the one conducting the seminars and workshops and do the sessions, discussions about ecotourism, tourism, and many more. So our association did not spend much, unlike the way we started the project. Next, please. Next is community and sustainable tourism development. So this one is leading initiatives for ecotourism and tourism practices, empowering local communities, especially women in rural areas, through tourism-based communities. Okay, the LGU of Aluginsan conducted a training and interpretation and guiding by the women. So at the start, we do the guiding seminar, and also we identify the different species that found in the river. So mostly our women's are also tour guides, and also because we have equal opportunity with the men about tour guiding. Next, please. Mentorship and support. So offering guidance and support to new younger members. As possibly, we trained or developed new generations to become a leader, because we believe that we need to mold a new leader because we are getting old. So that is why we're training new ones. When I attended the seminar, it caught my attention the quote that he said, "You are an effective leader if you can create an effective leader too." So that is why we are, as much as possible, is we are creating a new leader to be the successor of us, because we are just passing. So when we're getting old, so we are training our new generations, our kids and our daughters also and son, to do the same. So that is why we do the mentorship and support with our new members. Okay, and next, please. And community engagement. So part of the activities of our association is the outreach program. Every year, we look for a beneficiary for the support, especially during pandemic. Pandemic is one of the saddest happening in the association, because we closed for almost 8 months, and then the operation was stopped. But when we reopened, it did not stop the association to do the community engagement. We do community pantry, so we help the community. We distributed food for them, and also we tap with another group of tour guides in Cebu, and then they do the feeding program with the children. They distributed also foods, and together with the association with the Vitas. And then we have also scholars. So we have scholars in the elementary, and this part is we have also the meeting. We have to do the meeting with the parents of the scholars, so that they can also understand what we are doing in Bohol River, so that they can also help us, and we can also help their children also. And we do outreach program. To your right, this girl is when she is delivering in the birthing center, her house was born with a fire together with her two sons. So that is why we gather with our members, and then we distributed and we help them financially and also materials, the clothing, foods, and everything. So that is one of the activities that the association was doing, is helping the community also. Next, please. And cultural and heritage promotion. So we are preserving the environment as well as our culture and tradition. And one of it is a waving. So we wave mats, bags, different everything that can be waved by our women. And also it can also be one of their livelihood also. It because they can sold it in our area as souvenir items. Next, please. But this success story met a lot of challenges along the way. So first is balancing work and family responsibilities. So first, when before our women cannot attend the seminars, the trainings, because they have to balance the family work, their duties at their homes and also for their child. So that is why sometimes they cannot go to the training. Me myself during 2009 during the seminars, I attended the seminar with my 1-year-old child. So I attended the seminar. Did I bring it with me, my 1-year-old child? So that is one of the challenge that the women are facing to join association or to look for a job, because they have to balance their work and family. Me, I am a single parent, and I have to balance my work and also my responsibilities at home, and also for the my responsibilities at my in my association in Vitas. So it is a big challenge for me, but as a woman, I have to do it and I have to accept it. So I have to accept the challenge. I have to accept the challenge. Okay, and so that is one of the challenge that the women are facing. And next is cultural and social norms. So, as we all know, some cultures are they believe that women must live at home. They have to take good care of the family. So that is the culture before. So, and sometimes their husbands did not allow them to join or to look for a job, because they believe that the women are just as housewife to have to take care. So that is the one of the challenge. And I will share with you one of our get a rest kind of her husband did not allow her to join the association, but she is very good in handling the guitar. So I think Ma'am Ila, did you meet her? Yeah. So at first, her husband did not allow her to join the association, but um, we encourage her that you must attend, because you have to showcase your talent, because she is very talented. So, and thankfully that her husband is now okay with it, and she is now in the association. So today, so she is very good in entertaining our guests. So next, please. I will give you the success story of some of our members. So these members before we together we trained with me. This is Servilia, one of our members, and also our tour guide. She is also a tour guide, and the success story I will share with you is she helped her husband to finance to send her child to finish school. So she have 3 sons, and 2 are now graduated college, criminology, and I think one is marine. I think it's an seaman, and then one is high school. So she helped her husband to send her sons to school. She is Serbilia. Okay, and next please. This is Marivic. So Marivic is a solo parent. So she is a widow. And then she joined in our association in the year 2012. Later than 2009. But she's able to send her children to college. So she is this is one of her daughter. So it finishes college in criminology with her own capability. So with the help of the association also. So this is the success story of one of our members in association, that women can have the opportunity also. Okay, to summarize it, tourism is a powerful tool for women's empowerment, providing economic independence, leadership, opportunities, and social mobility. When women actively participate in the tourism industry, they not only contribute to economic growth, but also drive social change, promote gender equality, and foster sustainable development. Because we are not just a woman, but we are a woman. Thank you so much, and I hope you can visit Bohol River. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
very
and good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you very much, Miss Jomelyn. So again, another very insightful and inspirational story. I mean, this is honestly, this is not the first time I'm hearing this, because I would keep on coming back to them and their story every time I need a benchmark for how women are involved in tourism. And I would always message Miss Jomelyn in relation to that. But every single time she would present and share her stories, there would be something that I would learn at each time. So I guess before we move on to the Q&A session, let me just highlight a few things that I think were captivating for me based on what Miss Jomelyn was sharing. First, when she said that her topic was about from homemaker to trailblazer, I think that was a bold statement to actually start off in this conversation. And that also goes to show wherein when she talked about how Aluginsan used to be a sixth-class municipality and now it's a third-class municipality, now goes to show the power of tourism in terms of really uplifting communities. And finally, my very important thing that I like in her presentation, when she kept on reiterating, women can do paddling too. Like, we can paddle for you. And I feel like that's a strong message to everyone, that women are not, we are more than the nurturing and caring work that we do, that usually the jobs that are aligned to us. But hey, we could do tour guiding, and yes, we can paddle the boats for you whenever you visit. So again, thank you very much for sharing, Miss Jomelyn. So given the time that we have, and of course I wanted to maximize our audience who are here and joining us today, I'd like to formally open the Q&A session. So I know the overall message I think that we have here is that we want our audience to speak up and to ask your questions yourselves. I have some questions here. I don't know why they're personally messaging me instead of them asking the questions themselves. So again, before I read your questions, do you mind if our friends, I'm not gonna name names, but yeah, if you could ask your questions, just raise your hand and then feel free to ask your question directly to our panelists. We are friendly, we don't bite, right? So please, just a raise of hand if you have your questions. Anyone? I don't know if we're still in the same space wherein the moderator has to ask the first question. Thank God it's not. Thank you. Please go ahead. Can you please introduce yourself quickly, and you can direct the question to anyone or to the group in general. Please go ahead. Oh, you can't unmute. Maybe our team, is it possible to unmute? There you go.
Hello,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Hello, Professor. Hello, everyone. It's really interesting topic. So my name is Yeni. I'm from Bali, Indonesia. Currently, I'm studying tourism in Tritsumekang APU. So I want to ask about the how a woman sometimes have to um, leave their career for their children. So, what do you think about this? And the second one is some women, when they have children, they have to take leave many times, more than men, for example. And sometimes it's make the college do not really happy with that. So how the leader, for example, the leader, a woman, can mitigate the situation in the workplace, especially in the tourism industry. Thank you.
So I guess the question is something that resonates with everyone, right? As women, as powerful child bearers, I would take it as a power instead of a limitation. I mean, I'm curious to ask all of. I mean, I would ask Liz first, and then if Nelly and Jomelyn would have thoughts, since you're working closely with businesses, could you take a crack at this question, Liz?
Sure. And I appreciate, this is a tricky one. First I'll share that I have a 24-year-old son, and he was born when I was working in Japan. I was working for a big multinational. I was working for Amex when I was pregnant and had a baby. And at that time, they didn't expect, it was very common for women to have a baby and then never come back. But I would say in terms of taking, I'd say that different countries have different policies. And even within different companies, they have different policies. I think that for me as a mother, like that period was a gift. In hindsight, when I look at that time that I did take off when my son was born, was so precious. But I would say this: many women have different personal situations. They have different levels of interest. I've had career friends who went 100% into being a mom for years or forever, and then they enjoy it, and so I think each woman has a different balance, and each family has a different balance. So there's no one size fits all. I think the best is, like, I remember, I was the first company that I worked for, Merck Pharmaceuticals. It was amazing. And this was 30 years ago. And they had a child care center on property. And there's so many companies don't have that right now, even 30 years later. But I do think that it's up to governments and also companies to find ways, because they need to support that talent. And I do think that in some societies, it's getting more balanced around men also taking paternity leave and, sharing some of the child raising responsibilities. So I think that, it can be a challenge to have. I would say for any of you who are thinking about your career and thinking, I don't have time to have a child now, I'm going to wait. A friend gave me great advice. She said, when you're planning to have a child, don't expect to have 2 years when you're doing nothing. You work it into your life, you integrate it, and you find your balance of priorities with respect to career and your family. And that's what I would say. But don't keep putting it off. I worry about women that want a child and then they keep putting it off, and then they're suddenly 40, So I don't recommend that, because, but find your own balance. And hopefully, we can advocate for policies that support working women, working mothers.
So thank you very much, Liz. I think what I like to highlight about Liz's answer is that it doesn't, I was expecting an answer about, changing the system or like the business strategy or whatnot, but I like how you gave the autonomy back to ourselves. you know, because that's the only thing we can control, really, like how
Mm.
we balance our expectations and our own realities to make sure it fits into the structure that we are in. So thank you for that.
Maybe the one last thing I would say is like for all the things that I've done in my career, and I do put a lot of energy and heart into my career, the best thing that happened to me in my life is my son. So, you know, that's, I would
So
say
yeah,
that.
I mean, that's a big message for everyone, that you don't have to choose being just a career woman or a mother. You can be both. And I think that's a great message for Women's Month even. So I hope everyone's listening to that. So thank you again, Liz. So would Ms. Jomelyn and Nelly like to chime in or add anything else? Go ahead, Nelly.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the very relevant question. So I'm going to just look at it through a research lens.
Mhm.
And we have seen in many of the publications, there is a call to governments to actually have these women empowerment policies in place to allow women to be both a mother as well as have a career in our industry. What we have seen emerging amongst women once they had their children is some women then decides to become entrepreneurs because they want to have the flexibility to be a career woman as well as a mother. And many of the women are often feel that they are also they need to provide to the household. And that's why they then venture into entrepreneurship. And I think that on the one hand, yes, there's a lot of controversy around women entrepreneurship, especially in developing communities where women are really marginalized. But we've also seen the empowerment of women to become entrepreneurs because they are not only then provide to their own families, but also employing other women and empower other women to become providers for their family. And I just thought maybe I can add that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Nelly. Of course, beyond that, there are also other opportunities such as entrepreneurship that could also sort of support the kind of lifestyle that women choose to embark on. Right, that's perfect. Ms. Jomelyn? I mean, I'm wondering, especially for Baitas, for a community-based organization where most of you are actually housewives, how do you navigate through that while still making sure that it's effectively working?
My experience in Bohol River is as a woman, we can be both a mother and a career woman, especially when when your career is near or in your locality like ours. So it is a big help that our LGU is initiated the project in our locality, in our community, because it is near in our houses. We can be both a mother and also a career woman. We can also join the association even if we have the children at home because it is near in our houses. And also as women, as Ma'am Liz mentioned, that you have to balance it. So and where you can be happy, or you can be a mother or a career woman, or you can have both. It's up to you, because I know women are strong enough to do that as a woman. Thank you.
You very much, Ms. Jomelyn. So, again, from my perspective, I guess for our friends who are joining here who are from the government, I guess my take for this is that I've seen some development projects wherein they really conceptualize what they mean by women's involvement. So just an idea. So there's this place in Cambodia wherein it's a community-based tourism organization as well. So what they did was because usually what governments would do, we just set up a daycare center, but then of course as mothers, why would we give we give our child to like strangers, right? So they've conceptualized this daycare center wherein the caretakers are actually the mothers in the community as well, so that their sense of trust that they could leave their children in that daycare while also making sure that it's actually mothers also who knows personally their children and themselves. So I guess again the message that we're getting across here is that we have the ways to actually customize these kinds of interventions. If not interventions, there are ways that we can adjust as women ourselves in terms of balancing both the career and our care responsibilities. So thank you for that question, Yenny. Thank you very much for also being brave to ask your question yourself. So anyone else? Again, before I read the questions that are sent to me, anyone else who's brave enough? Come on, you have to show us that you're stepping up as well and raising your hand and asking the questions yourselves. Anyone? Or else I would just go ahead and ask some of these questions. So I think others are still gathering up their courage to actually speak up. So one of the questions that I received here, this is very inspiring. So I don't know if you still want to ask the question yourself, but I think I would not miss this chance. So I'll just ask it on your behalf. So the question here is, for all the younger women and men who are joining today's webinar, could each of you, I would assume you're asking each of the speakers, what is your message to them in relation to women's empowerment and gender equality? What would be that generic message? I feel like this question should have been at the end, but anyway, go ahead, please. Would like this. I feel like we're kind of contemplating as well, because any one of you could take a crack at this. Because honestly, I mean, for me, just giving time for everyone to think, I feel like this webinar itself, I would call it a love letter to myself and to all the younger women who are watching. Because I feel like creating this platform actually allows us to get together and to just really share the story. So this is such a great question that resounds to me. So our speakers, anyone? Go ahead,
Sure.
Liz.
I'll start. Maybe my number one advice to the young people on this webinar is don't be self-limiting. So, and I think particularly women are guilty of this, but I know there are a lot of men that may feel this as well. You know, there are opportunities out there, and I know each one of us has challenges that we need to overcome. But I'll share this story. I found out that my first boss in my first career, many years later, you know, I found out that he made a comment about me when I was like 1 or 2 years into the company. And he said, Liz can't get promoted because her voice is too feminine. I was like, really shocked. I thought, what can I do about that? You know, my voice is my voice. I know there was one Silicon Valley executive who dropped her voice to, you know, sound a bit more masculine, but and then I thought about it now, like, 30 years later, and I've been very privileged to have my voice heard more than I ever expected, ever dreamed when I was 20. I never expected to be an industry public figure. I never expected to get on stage and do a keynote for 800 people. And he saw that, he gave me that limitation, but like, don't let people put limitations on you, and most of all, don't put limitations on yourself.
Thank you so much, Liz.
Okay.
I feel like it's also a message to me. So thank you very much for that. Anyone else? Miss Jomelyn or Miss Doc Nelly? Okay, Miss Jomelyn. Yes, go ahead.
So my advice to all women out there is believe in yourself. So you are capable of achieving anything you set in your mind. So never let societal expectations define your potential. So believe in yourself. So that's the great things that I can advise to everyone. So we have to believe ourselves.
That's true. Thank you very much, Miss Jomelyn. Doc Nelly.
Yes, thank you so much. My message is get involved. Don't be just an observer, but actually be the change that you want to be by getting involved. Raise your hand and say, I'm willing to be a volunteer. I'm willing to take up, say, for instance, in an association, say, I'm willing to take up the leadership position. And through that, you will build a community of like-minded women that will support you. the opportunities that stems from that, I think is unlimited. And I think that's why all of us are very involved in society today, is because we took the first step and we got involved. Thank you.
Wow, that's very powerful. So thank you very much for your messages. I would like to take note of that myself. You know, believe in yourself. Don't let others thinking affect you, and those negative things. You can turn that into power, just like Liz, right? And of course that message by Doc Nali. So thank you very much. Again, I just received a message. Again, I would encourage the people who are sending me personal questions, especially this one. I hope that you could ask the question yourself, but I think they would prefer that I ask it. Especially if this is a woman-dominated forum. So this is actually from a guy. So the question is, if you have a message for for women, what would the message be for young men like him, I would say? I mean, how could they play a role in this conversation?
Maybe I can
Maybe-
start. Oh, go ahead.
Doc Nali, and then Liz, and then Ms. Jonathan.
Thank you. I think that this conversation, and that's why I think the topic also deals about gender equality. So although we are females advocating for women, it doesn't mean that men are excluded. And whatever message we are portraying in terms of equality, inclusion, also emanates to young men specifically. And I think that young men must also see this as an opportunity to get involved, to understand what are the needs of the society and how they can make an active contribution in order to create the world they want to live in. And by also setting an example, because as men, you were raised most of the time by a woman, and your mom has installed a value system. And for you as a young man, you need to take that value system forward in order for the advancement of the social cultural values in which you were framed, and how you can use that to advance the empowerment of women. I hope that is maybe some value. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Nali. Liz?
I would say that I do think that well, I have seen predominantly female or all female teams or meetings and situations, and I don't think that's particularly healthy either. There needs to be women aren't looking for domination; they're looking for balance and fairness. And I think I'll use a sports analogy, whether it's basketball or baseball or football, whatever sport you like, there needs to be different strengths on a team. And so I would say, amongst your colleagues, or if you have a team, look for that, because you need that diversity in thinking and you need that diversity in talent, whether it's, gender or nationality or age. I think, the best forums that I've been in have had diversity on all those aspects, and see if you can promote that. And maybe the other thing is, if you do see, female colleagues getting marginalized or ignored, try to help, because studies show that whether it's school or at work, often when a woman makes a suggestion, it's not heard. So at Stanford, they actually started monitoring the classrooms and recording them, because they found that even though there's professors that are everybody, that's one thing maybe I would highlight. It's human nature to have unconscious bias. That is part of our human, survival, self-protection. So the important thing is to be cognizant of it and override it at times when it's not creating a healthy balance. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Liz. Definitely, diversity is what we're actually balanced. I think I like what you said, that we're not after dominance, we're actually after balance. And diversity comes into the picture, really, in that sense. Ms. Jomelyn, do you want to add anything? Yes.
As for me, because the one who raised the question is the man. Uh, I think in our society, for today's generation, I believe that everyone is equal, man and woman. So we have to respect women and we have to also respect the man. And also we value, especially the man, we have to value women because when you abuse women, it can degrade her self esteem. So you have to value women and also women value the men. So as everyone is equal in our society.
So yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. If the messaging here isn't about women's superiority, it's really about equality and balance. So that's a great way to actually balance off the discussions, right? So before I ask Professor Kazem for his question, I think we have a question here from Miss Tina Aquino. So Miss Tina Aquino, if you're not familiar, she's one of the giants in the Philippine tourism industry. And I remember her messaging me via Viber telling me she'd probably be on a bus heading somewhere while attending this webinar. So thank you for listening in and for asking this question. So her question is, should leadership be an issue of gender or competence?
Oh, absolutely competence.
I agree.
But I would also say that there needs to be more open-mindedness about what defines a leader. Because I go back to that unconscious bias. You know, there's a statistic that shows the average, the height of the American president over the decades, over hundreds of years, has been, over 200 years, has been very tall. So that image of why does a leader have to be tall? That has nothing to do with the job. You know, there are 100 other attributes that are important to being a leader than height, right?
True.
So we have to understand that, you know, our image of a leader, and women will do this to themselves, you know, they have this, you know, we've all been, you know, we all have learned from our experiences and our history. So even if we, you know, we may be feminist or advocate for women in leadership, we'll have our own internal biases. So I think it's, you know, all of us, you know, as business leaders, being more open about, you know, what are really the critical criteria and making sure that that comes to the forefront.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Liz. Would any of our other speakers like to chime in on that? Yes, go ahead, Dr. Lee.
Yeah, I think leadership must also be based on merit. But as Liz indicated, we need to level the playing field. And how do we level the playing field? We do that by creating equal opportunities for women to obtain the knowledge and the skills in order to participate in these leadership positions. And I think that is very critical. And we've seen that consistently in the research, that we advocate for the empowerment of women and skills. And sometimes women needs to be mentored to also fulfill those specific leadership positions. But in the end, women doesn't want to feel as if I was appointed in a specific leadership position because I am a woman. It must be based on merit because I feel that I meet the criteria to fill that specific position. And that's why society has that responsibility to empower women.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nelly. Ms. Jomelyn, would you like to add something or are you good?
It's okay.
Good. Thank you very much. So I don't know how can I squeeze in my question, but okay, yes. Okay. So I guess the last question, just before I wrap up everything. This is, I think it's a question. Okay. It's an anonymous question. So do you women believe in the difference between men and women? And if yes, does this difference gives advantage to each gender?
In what arena? If we're talking about sports, yeah, there's advantages, you know, but, you know, I guess it depends what arena we're saying there's advantage.
Okay. So I feel like, okay, I mean, there's no follow-up here. So another question last. If does gender equality means that there's no difference in gender?
I think gender equality creates an awareness that gender exists, and that some people have a more feminist approach and some people might have a more muscular approach. And I think it's very important for us to also acknowledge that we're dealing with different people that are coming from different backgrounds, people that come from different cultures, people that have different value systems. And how do you create equality and a mutual understanding across all of these differences amongst people?
Okay, that makes sense. So thank you very much. So I guess I just have to shoot my last question. I know everyone's rushing and I know I have to wrap it up. But if you had one initiative or program that you wish to implement to promote women's empowerment and gender equality in the industry, what would it be? Just one wish, if you were granted with anything. Just one initiative that you hope could be implemented.
I'm a fan of mentorship programs, and for my male and female staff, some of them I've kept in touch with long after they worked for me, and so I do. If within the limitations of time, I try to mentor as many people as I can, and I think that's really important, especially for young women.
Thank you, Liz. So mentorship, that's perfect. Wish lists from Doc Nelly and Jomelyn?
Yeah, I've seen the success of our executive development program for women in tourism. And following that, we've continued with regular engagements with the women to provide a mutual support system. So my wish is also for women to create mutual support systems once they have been educated, that they will continue supporting each other, and that we will create a value chain of women leaders where we can also build economies of scale, where more women can participate, where more women can get a slice of the pie, and more women can also build businesses in the specific sector.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nelly. And finally, Ms. Jomelyn?
My wish for all the women out there that no women will be abused because some women are abused. So my wish is that no woman will be abused anymore.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jomelyn. Yeah, that's true. I mean, again, we can go ahead and talk about this for the longest times that we have. And some questions are just appearing right now. But unfortunately, just like anything else, some great things have to come to an end. But this is also a sign that we have to create more avenues like these when we could talk, hopefully in a more personal level. Maybe next time I could invite you in the Philippines to join our audience live as well. So and some people are still joining our webinar. So in any case, I guess I'd like to close this webinar by first saying thank you to our esteemed speakers, panelists.
Thank you so much.
I know that everyone is just feeling that energy, that power from this empowered people, and I'm just very grateful. So to just close this, I'd like to just pull up one slide. This is a slide that I think would summarize the message of this webinar, and conclusively, this is actually the conclusion of my dissertation. So I asked my participants back then when I was doing my dissertation. So my dissertation is basically on women in tourism in the Philippines. And they kept on asking me, what do we mean by empowerment? And so I threw back the question at them, what do you mean by empowerment? And so I did a host of interviews, and different ideas came to place. And then after that, this definition actually came up, which I think is very powerful. So before I pass on the floor to Professor Kazem to close this program, I'd just like to share this, that the next time we talk about women's empowerment, I feel like this is a powerful statement, that it's an ability to take charge of themselves and to use that ability to influence positive development in their respective communities. I guess the message here is that when we look at an empowered woman, it's not just about themselves taking leadership positions for themselves, but actually these are empowered women who are actually able to create influence, positive influence to their surroundings as well. And this is just, I guess, a great definition and a characteristic of all the women who are here and all the men who are here supporting us today. So I am now passing the floor to Professor Kazem to formally close this webinar. So again, it's been a pleasure to host this event. So Professor Kazem, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I feel a lot of power and positive energy, strong message. And I'm very proud that, as you mentioned, this platform is for you to reach your voices. And this is the mission of SCOT. SCOT is created for not only academia or industry, but also local community and people to reach their voices. Is a platform to discuss here. And Ayla, you did a beautiful work. You have, I think, a very is the talk is about the balance, but it's not only gender balance. You selected people from the industry, academia, and from the community. If I may summarize what or the lessons I learned, or a very brief take out lesson. Liz, I like the idea of mentorship. I believe absolutely young people, they need this mentorship. And you brought up the statistics and the information from the existing situation. But what I want here to comment on is that the percentages of women involving in industry and work is very important. But I also think that how the trend has been changing. So if you compare the existing, if it is less than 50 now, and let's say 10 years ago, it was much less. So if the trend is positive, I think it is a good thing. So it means that we are, or the society is going toward a good point. So the future is bright. So I like maybe when Ayla is going to invite you guys for next webinar, because this is a wide topic, we can conclude it here, to see that are these trends positive, and is there any meaningful trend or positive trend in different part of the world, and if yes, what they did. So this is, and nobody can ignore the role and importance of women. Half of the society are women, and man is not grown up without women. So in my culture, I'm from Iran originally, and we have this from our childhood, that a woman and the mom's position at home is the most solid in the first society unit, which is the family unit. I also recall Nelly's academic success that women have contributed. The award-winning woman, not only yourself, I know many of them. So this means that the ability exists. And I personally, as a teacher, have seen many successful women in my classes, in the academia around me, and I maybe am not very sure about what I'm saying now, but I've seen women are more encouraged to study, to work, and in at least in the academic environment around me. So yes, we need also to find a way that we create a reward system not only for very top academic, but also for usual social status that women are in any career. We have to reward. We have to create a reward system not only for the best academic paper, for example, for the best mom, for the best cook, for the best woman who play a key role in society. I think this is also a cultural things. And uh, Miss Jomlin, you are in the frontier. You are doing the job. The stories that you shared is inspiring. You said, "I can do, guide. I can take you on the river or the sea and so on." That I can't. So it doesn't mean that, okay, man are more powerful. This is not. And I have this impression that maybe sometimes a woman, it's created by some woman that I say, I can't do that because I'm woman. And it became a part of the culture. So long story short, if I want to summarize again that gender equality, I think, starts and has roots from the society itself. And it can be controlled and can be influenced by women who are training, raising the children. The woman who raise the man, they teach them how to think about gender equality. And if women of today, they believe gender equality, the man of future, they believe it more. And then the less we have this issue. Um, uh, Again, I think my understanding of today's discussion is that gender equality is not only important for academic discussion and so on, it's also, and gender balance is very important in a successful society and the health of society in general and man. So we have to bring this idea more into discussion, into daily discussions, and make sure that we can discuss in a very equal and fair, and women can also participate in many aspects of society that traditionally or in societies that traditionally they think that this is a more a manly job or position. Unless we have um, a, a new society that is going to be changed by machine learning, AI, and so on, that both man and woman, they will have less share in decision making and in working, that it might change the situation in the future. Again, I would like to thank all of you and the audience who stayed with us for a long time. And I would like to ask and invite Ayla to continue this important topic. Scott or the Scott team is happy to host this kind of topics in the future. Back to you, Ayla, if you want to have any
So just
further words. Yes.
yes, thank you very much, Professor Kazem. So I guess true to like the Filipino way of doing it, is it okay if we take a photo opportunity if our audience could show their faces just so we know you're not robots, right? So can we have our photo taken? Our friend, our colleague Justin here will take our photo. So if you could turn on your cameras. Thank you very much. Just a shout out to Miss Tina, who's literally joining us from the bus. Thank you very much for your support.
I hope we
Okay.
can open our cameras.
Yes.
I think we
So
have
everybody,
three
if you
pages
open the
here.
camera
I
now.
like that we're surrounded by young women and men. Thank you very much. Okay, so Justin, we'll get on your cue.
All right. So I think we're still waiting for some. Okay, we have 3 pages here, so if you can smile a bit. So, okay, let me take the first page first. So, all right. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, hold on. Okay, next page. So, please continue smiling. Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, smile.
Last one.
All right, last one. So, 1, 2, 3, smile, everyone.
Okay, so thank you very much for the lean but strong audience. I mean, we started off at 56, we're ending at 56. So thank you very much. And I can't wait to host a bigger, much more improved webinar. So thank you very much again to Miss Liz, to Dr. Nally, Miss Jomelyn, and Professor Kazem for allowing me, my inner child in me, to actually have this platform of conversations that you can't have every day. So thank you very much, and an empowering weekend to everyone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Goodbye.
And
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Miss Jomelyn. Sir, thank you very much for this
Thank you.
opportunity.